Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Griefdrums, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of tips from across the Siege community that hopefully are going to help you out. So just very quickly before we get started, I just wanted to give you a heads up that I stream over on Twitch 4 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 8 o'clock BST, that's British summertime, and I'd love to see you over there. I'm always trying to pull off this kind of stuff. It never works. It's good for a laugh anyway, so hopefully you can stop by. Now, without any further ado, let's just go ahead and jump straight into this week's tips. During this week's APAC games between Fnatic and Giants, we saw some pretty interesting plays over on Clubhouse by a clash, which kind of got me thinking about other uses for it. But let's just go ahead and take a look at this. For those of you that don't know, when you're holding the cache room and the server room over on Clubhouse, there is a drone hole just next to the main wall that is normally reinforced, and very often we will see a Zofia trying to put a concussion round through there to stop the bandit from tricking it. So what I mean by that is Zofia puts the concussion round through the drone hole, and when it gets to the proximity of the bandit and close enough to him, it actually explodes and takes him out of the animation for putting his bandit battery down to destroy the thermite charge on the wall. Now, over the years, we have seen all sorts of different ways to try and counter this, but one way that I have never seen or never even thought about using is Clash. Now, this was incredible to watch. I was genuinely sat here, I was working from home, and I had the Twitch stream open to my side, and out of nowhere, I heard this almighty laughing and raucous like noise coming from the casters to look over and see that Clash was being used to block the drone hole. By turning her back to the wall and aiming all the way up, the shield actually blocks the drone hole, and it's going to block the Zofia stuns. It's going to stop anything from coming through there. And you know what? This is like 10,000 IQ. This is so clever. With it being so early on in the round, Clash isn't really needed to be anywhere else. I mean, yeah, you could play her somewhere else and try and get some intel, but this is just stalling out the team. Unfortunately for Giants and their 10,000 IQ play, Fnatic very quickly adjusted, went underneath, and were able to take out the bandit from the floor below. However, it's just such a clever play, and it really did get me thinking about other places you could potentially use this on different maps. But now that we've seen this, I cannot wait to see what the community come up with.
Sandwich window.
Grief.
Yes. Yes.
Do you want to jump out the window?
Which window?
I've just been
The archives window?
or doubles a fit
Yeah.
company.
Ready? Go.
I'm here.
If you remain in this area.
Nice.
You have been spotted by hostiles.
God.
Fall back.
Oh, I'm down, but I'm in.
I'm in.
Cheers, biggies. So what you just saw there was a round taken from a recent rank game I was playing with Mav and a few others, in which we pretty much countered a Nomad air jab by double running out of a window. And I wanted to include this just so it gives you some food for thought and a couple of ideas as to how you can get around things like this. Now, very often Nomad is used to counter runouts and to stop people from getting a line of sight onto you when you're in an area that could be pretty exposed. For example, in this case, the sandwich window. Now, in this particular example, I thought it was really good that Mav just offered me the option. He said, you know, do you want to follow me out and we'll do a double jump out? And I knew exactly what he was talking about when he offered it. And being able to do that and discuss it and then go ahead and carry it out, yes, we got pretty lucky, if I'm brutally honest. We did get quite lucky. We were already at a man disadvantage, so we kind of needed to do something to turn it around. And doing this just played to our favor massively. The guys on our team inside of the armory lockers were already pretty pinned by that person on sandwich window. So by doing this, it enabled them to move around as much as they did. And you very quickly see the entire round just flips the other way. And even though we've got a lot less health, it affords people the opportunity to move and actually secure the kills they need to over on the other site. Now, if you are duo queuing, this is something you can do. It doesn't just have to be out of this particular window. And if you can both get away with your lives, then even better. But sometimes, you know, being a little bit reckless can really be beneficial to the team. Now, the final thing I wanted to take a look at today is entry points into the map. So when you are playing on defense, I want you to start going away and consciously thinking about, if you're an attacker, where would you come in from? Now, on this particular clip in the background, I was playing as Pulse, and yes, it was just a casual game, we're having a bit of fun, but I kind of thought to myself, in casual, where are the attackers going to push from? It's probably going to be a rush from white. They're just going to come running in like a bunch of brain dead idiots. And funnily enough, that's exactly what they did. The sledge came running up and I managed to just take him out very, very early on and then get a little bit more intel to go ahead and take out the jackal just a few seconds later. Now, this whole thing was made possible by the fact that I pretty much predicted where they were going to come in from, and I stopped to think about this. I stopped to analyze it and break down what was going on in the round or what could potentially happen. Now, if we stop to break this down, most maps have a few fairly common entry points. For example, if you were attacking downstairs on bank, you can go in through the garage, the dirt tunnel. You could potentially push in from the top floor, but you basically just pick one of these. Now, at this particular one, we were holding the open area, and I thought to myself, someone could potentially try and come up the blue stairs. So after my setup, I came down here, and I just held the angle onto the tunnel for a few seconds. We're 20 seconds into the round right now, and sure enough, very soon, someone sticks their head into my line of sight, and I take them out. And that's the man advantage without spawn peeking, without really doing much of anything. It was just being in the right place at the right time. But that was all due to breaking it down and analyzing where an attacker is most likely to come from. Now, this can apply to various different maps. A perfect example is the fact that I was playing Vigil in an Azarus tournament a little while back, and even though we were playing Bakery, I figured that most teams, if they are in a full 5-stack, are going to want to get full map control. They're going to want to know that they can't be flanked from behind, and because of that, they're going to probably drone from the top floor down and try and clear it out. Now, the job of a Roma is to waste time. It's not to get loads and loads of frags. I mean, if you can get away with a load of kills, that's brilliant. But my job here is to waste time. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to predict where they're going to come in by pulling them into the map where I want them. Now, that kind of sounds a little bit random, I know, but by shooting through those windows and making it extremely obvious where I am, I then sort of invited them up to come and get me. And by doing that, I was then going to isolate where they were coming from by holding this angle on the skylight to try and get an early pick on one of the several people that could potentially be pushing onto me. Now, this all feeds into predicting where in the map they're going to come from. Now, because I'm not getting any intel from the skylight and someone called out that they are already inside of the piano, so predicting where they're going to come from, they're going to come from the white hallway to try and get to me. As soon as that person is dead, I then take a look at the skylight again to see if anyone is holding me there, and then I'm predicting where they're going to come from next. They're probably going to be pushing through the cigar or alternatively white hallway again. So pre-firing and moving to these respective areas, I let the drone see me, and then I go hold aggressive angles, and the whole time I am just trying to predict, if I was an attacker, what would I be doing? Well, if it was me personally, I would be teaming up with my friend who's pushing white, and I would push through cigar to try and pinch out the Vigil that's on the top floor. So by holding the cigar and moving into an area where they don't really know where I am, I'm constantly trying to predict their movements. And you know what? This entire round, it just worked out really, really nicely because the timings were slightly off for them. They just came one at a time. And it was a bit unfortunate for them, especially when they figured out where I was. The lack of intel and everything like that. It just played into my hands and not enough into theirs. But even still, I think the point still remains. Predicting where enemies are going to come from and putting yourself in the attacker's shoes and saying, okay, if I was going to try and take top floor, I would probably have someone holding from the skylight. I would probably drop the windows or the hatches and come in those ways into piano and Christmas. And then I'm going to be pushing down the white hallway and through cigar to try and get to cocktail. If you can step away and try and figure out what exactly it is that the attackers are going to be doing, it can massively help you on defense. Now, I'm afraid that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully some of the things in there give you some ideas. Hopefully it gives you some things to go away with and to think about in your own gameplay. Certainly predicting enemies' movements. Put yourself in the shoes of the attacker. Where would you come in from? 90% of the time, you're probably going to be wrong and they're going to come from somewhere completely different. But for 10% of the time, if you waited there for 30 seconds, you may be lucky enough to get that kill, and then you can fall back to sight. And if they weren't there, you can fall back to sight anyway. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting that thumbs up. If you don't already, make sure to subscribe. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay reckless and relentless.